Yes, Kansas City. Here we go by many nicknames, such as the Paris of Plains, the Heart of America, and, well, the Cowtown. But one nickname that flows right off the tongue is the City of Fountains. And we owe that to George Kessler, whom we'll get into in just a bit. Thanks to him, families all around the world, both old and new, can experience our city in all its glory. Before we get into the fountains, of course, let's learn a little bit about the man himself, George Edward Kessler. In the late 1800s, in Bad Falkenhausen, Germany, a young 3-year-old Kessler and his family decided to move to the US for the first time. This is where they made a nice little home here in Dallas, Texas. They lived there for about 12 years until the sad death of Kessler's father, Edward Carl Kessler. Upon his death, his mother and him moved back to Germany. Over time, Kessler's mother could see how bright and big his imagination was getting, and could only wonder what foundations made up his mind. That's when she told him what a fine young landscaper he can become, and that he did. After taking up classes in landscaping, architecture, and civil engineering back in Germany, he made his way back to the United States. But this time, instead of Texas, he moved his way up to Missouri. And this is where it all begins. He quickly found his place and started working on projects that shaped our city into the beauty it is today. These projects includes the making of Hyde Park, Miriam Park, Roanoke Park, West Terrence Park, and of course, the Kessler Park, as well as railroads and neighborhoods. With all his dedication to the city and all his success and praise he had from the people, he decided to do something more for them, for the city. And this is where he wrote his 90-page report. This report is now known as The City Beautiful.
George Kessler believed that Kansas City should have more boulevards than Paris and more fountains than Rome. The earliest fountain in Kansas City at 15th Street and the Paseo, it was just called The Fountain. It was the first beautiful fountain, not just utilitarian, but beautiful. It was designed by George Kessler, who was the first landscape architect in Kansas City. The first use of Kansas City as the City of Fountains was said at the dedication for the J.C. Nichols Memorial Fountain. The J.C. Nichols Fountain is definitely the most iconic fountain in Kansas City. J.C. Nichols was very instrumental in bringing fountains to a prestigious height in Kansas City, especially in the Country Club Plaza and the Country Club District that he developed.
The Country Club Plaza was our nation's first ever suburban shopping mall. Nichols created this so people have a place to shop, eat, and enjoy their time with friends and family. But his work is not just beloved here. Henri Leongraver, all the way in Paris, decided to dedicate a fountain for J.C. Nichols. It was built in the early 1900s, and it holds 4 statues that represents the 4 mighty rivers: the Mississippi, the Rhine, the Seine, and the Volga. Sadly, though, just a few decades later, a fire took place in the Long Island interstate where it once stood. But have no fear, in the 1950s, JC's family bought the fountain and brought it to Kansas City, where it still stands to this day. Although you might go up to it today and realize something's a bit off. The name. It is no longer called the J.C. Nichols Fountain. It is now the Mills Creek Fountain. And that's because of the sad events that happened in 2020. Following the death of George Floyd, many Black Lives Matter protesters vandalized the Country Club Plaza because they didn't respect racial policies Nicholas had for his neighborhoods. So, in June of 2020, Kansas City's Parks and Recreation decided to change the name from J.C. Nichols Fountain to Mills Creek Fountain. Speaking of shopping centers,
the Crown Center fountain. Oh, it makes me cry.
This lovely place started in the 1960s by Joyce C. Hall and his son, Daniel J. Hall. They sat down one day, wondering what can they make of this place.
It was a very neglected part of town for a long time, so it was an attempt to revitalize it.
And now you can enjoy a nice day out with friends and family by going to concerts, Sea Life, Legoland, and shopping in various other restaurants and stores all across the Crown Center. Oh, and of course, we cannot forget the centerpiece of it all, the fountains.
For many decades, children played in it. Crown Center and the Parks Department, I believe, decided to turn off the fountain so they could clean it. And then they also made the decision to put a fence around the fountain. No one can play in it anymore.
Fear not, you can still enjoy the fountain by visiting every hour on the hour from 5 to 9 on weekdays to watch a performance of a lifetime. And not just that, you can also enjoy beautiful music since it's set to the Kansas City Symphony. Now it's time to take a nice little walk through the park. This next and final fountain of the day is the Rose Fountain. This fountain belongs to the Kansas City Rose Society that was formed in 1931 as a branch of the American Rose Society, an effort that was led by Laura Conyer Smith.
It was an opportunity for mostly upper middle class women to gather around and have a hobby to do and have prestigious awards for roses that they grew.
The first garden contained 120 rose plants. Now today, that number skyrocketed to 3,000 roses across 1.5 acres of the garden. The rose garden went through many variations of itself since the 1930s. The first one that featured a lily pool in 1936, followed by a sculpture called the Spirit of the Rose Garden. But times don't change that much, since in the last couple years, Kansas City Rose Society added a beautiful new bird bath in the North Garden. Now, I know, it's clear as water that Kansas City, who calls itself the City of Fountains, shouldn't just have 3 fountains. And as you can tell, that's obviously not the case. Kansas City has hundreds and hundreds of fountains. Even though if you can't visit all of these fountains, you can still drive around, walk around, and surely spot one from a distance.